Hi, I'm Greg Carr,
And I'm Katie Price. We're the Neighborhood Services Coordinators for the City of Round Rock.
and today we're going to talk to you about our fence staining kit, and we're going to go over a how-to so that you'll be able to power wash your fence and then also stain your fence so it looks good as new. It doesn't matter if your fence is oxidized or weathered. You can take an old fence, go through this process, and it looks almost as good as new, and it extends the life of your fence so you don't have to replace the whole fence. It's between about $800 and $1,000 to bring somebody in to do this. So you can save quite a bit doing this yourself. This is a great weekend project. Take a day to power wash your fence and get it cleaned, let it dry overnight, and then you can go ahead and stain your fence.
And the checkout period is 2 weeks, so that should give you plenty of time for the process.
The first step you got to do is a little yard work prep. So you need to mow your lawn and edge along the fence because you don't want things getting in the way of your process.
Power washing can take up to 6 hours, so please be mindful of the sun. Wear sun protection and long sleeves. Okay, this is the Ryobi electric pressure washer. All you need is an extension cord and a hose.
For the power washing, the oscillating tip works the best to get it clean. Simply pull back on the coupling, and you want to pull back first before you apply pressure or it won't come back. You have that on, and then you simply insert the extension into the handle, give it a twist, and now you got your wand. The next thing you want to do is take your hose, and on the front of the machine, it's a connection. You kind of push your hose in a little bit, and then you just tighten by hand. The next step is attaching your garden hose. On the back of the machine is your connection.
When power washing, remember to always spray up and down with the grain. And a good rule of thumb when you're power washing, wear something that you don't mind getting wet, and always wear eye protection.
The average home in Round Rock is on a 1/4 acre lot, so that's going to be about 240 linear feet of fence that you're going to have to stain. You can get the stain at any Home Depot, Lowe's, any hardware store. Just make sure you get the water-based stain because it's easier to clean up. You can go down and get your own stain. It's going to take about 7 to 12 gallons of stain to do your fence depending on the condition, and that's going to run you anywhere from $80 to $120 per 5-gallon bucket of stain. So you can see you can save quite a bit doing yourself. If you're in an HOA, you want to make sure you check off on their pre-approved color list to make sure you're not going to get into trouble. They usually have that on their website, or you can get hold of your property manager and they can let you know what's approved. One thing you want to check before you get started is the weather. You want to keep the wind below 15 miles an hour and make sure you're not going to get a rain right after you stain your fence. This side is going up against the house, so I put up a little plastic sheeting to keep from staining the house. The city provides your kit and it has everything you need. Something you're going to need, you're going to have 2 buckets. One has a little bit of water in it, about 4 or 5 inches, and we'll go through that in a minute. You have a bucket that's a discharge bucket, and we'll show you how to do that. You got your paint sprayer, which is a professional grade paint sprayer. We're using it for stain, of course. Your kit will come with 2 attachments for the sprayer. It comes with a strainer attachment, and the attachment goes on the intake hose. You have an intake hose and a discharge hose, and it just screws on like it does to any normal hose faucet. It also comes with an adapter, and this adapter is used at the end when you go to clean your unit. You just screw it on, and then you'd screw your hose in, and we'll show you that here in a little bit. Most important in the kit, you get a really detailed instruction sheet. So I'm going to go through the instruction sheet just like it says, and if you do the same thing, it'll be really easy for you. You have your paint gun, your nozzle, and one thing about the nozzle, you'll have your spray tip in, and the way it's set up now, the arrow is pointing back towards the gun. That is for cleaning your tip. So if your tip gets clogged, and when you first start, you point the tip away from the spray. When you start to spray, you just turn it around and point real easy. That's the way it's going to be spraying. When you're all done and you go to clean up, we'll show you, but that tip just pops right out. So on your sprayer, you have your spray and discharge knob. And a little hint on that, when you're doing the prime position, it goes in the same direction as your discharge hose. When you want to spray, you flip it and it goes the direction of your hose. That's just something easy to remember. Prime is down, goes with your hose because you're going to be draining. Spray is to the side, points out towards the spray. You also have this little button here. You want to give it a couple pushes in the start, just to loosen up your ball valve. And then on this side you have your pressure control knob, and on some units there's a position that says prime and pumps, so that's where when we go through the priming stage it'll be on that. On this particular unit it just has a start, and this is where you adjust it if not enough pressure is coming out. You really can keep it on just the low though. Now if we move around over on this side, this is where your on and off switch is. And you'll be using that a lot. It's really convenient. You can grab it from any position, just on and off. Of course, we have the plug, and we provide a nice heavy-duty extension cord. Please use that to make sure you get enough juice to the both the power washer and to the spray unit. Like I said before, most important is your little instruction sheet. Makes it really easy to use. So the startup guide says you plug it in. We're already plugged in. We're ready to go. The first thing you do, because we're going to do some priming here, so you have a bucket with about 4 or 5 inches of water. Separate your intake hose and your discharge hose. Your intake hose, put it in the bucket of water. Now the one thing that's nice about this unit is if you're using your 5-gallon buckets of stain, you can hook the bucket right to the unit, so when you go to move it, it takes your bucket right along with it. So let's get that intake hose into the water. Put your discharge hose into your extra trash bucket, and then the next step we do is we put the into prime mode, which is down. Give your button a couple of pushes, and then you're going to turn the unit on and let water run out for about 30 seconds, and that's going to prime it. You can see the water starting to come out. All you're doing is priming your pump. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our water bucket out. You're going to drain a little bit, so be careful. We're just using a gallon can of stain because we're doing this for the video. More than likely, if you're doing a lot of fence, you're going to be using a 5-gallon bucket. It's cheaper and a lot more convenient. So you put your strainer attachment onto the hose, screw it on, drop that in. There comes your stain. Turn your unit on. When you're painting your house at home, you're going to go and spray side to side. If you'll notice, there's an arch if you just keep your arms straight as you move it. So that means you're going to be closer and then farther away from the whatever you're staining or painting. So you want to make sure you move your arm in a straight pattern. And remember, this is for staining your fence. It's not for painting your house. And I'm going to go up and down with the planks and the fence. If you go across, you'll still get the job done, but one resident told me that they used it and they kind of saw a spray pattern with that. Where you go up and down, you won't get that. And you keep the tip about 6 to 8 inches away. And just go up and down. Remember to keep the spray head an even distance from your fence as you spray. And if there's part of the fence that is a little drier than maybe another part, you can go back over it again to get a good even coat, because the dry wood will suck up a lot more stain than a new fence board will. So now we're getting ready for the cleanup phase. So your power sprayer is off. You're going to take the both your intake and your discharge hose. Make sure you let them drain because there's going to be some residue in there. And then you just switch it over to your waste bucket. You're going to turn your valve back to the prime mode. At this point, you're going to take your strainer off. Just drop it into that bucket of water that you have left. Put your connector on. Take your garden hose, just like you would any other garden attachment. Make sure it's nice and tight. Turn your water on. It's in the prime mode. And what you're doing is just cleaning out. Turn it to spray. Go ahead and turn your unit back on and just clean out all the residue that's left in your hose. You can see you're still getting a lot of stain coming out. Pretty soon it'll just be going to water. So when you've got it pretty clean, you can take your tip off, take your spray tip out. Say it just fits in. Drop both of those into your clean bucket of water. At this point you can continue to take the spray tip off. It'll be a little quicker. On the bucket, what was coming out, and now it's clear water coming out. So you remember earlier I put my strainer in. Just wash it around in the clean water a little bit. Take it out so it can dry. Your spray tip the same way. And this is why you want to use the water-based stain. You can just use water. If you use a oil-based stain, you're going to have to use special cleaners, and it's a lot harder and a lot more expensive, and it's harder on the machine to keep clean. So we've got our tips clean, we've got our strainer clean, and now we're pretty much done. I like it. I think it looks pretty good. It makes a big difference for the neighbors and stuff driving by. They don't see this old crummy fence that we used to have. It looks like it's a brand new fence, so I'm pretty happy. So go out, do the same thing for your house. And improve the value, make your neighbors happy, make your HOA happy, and charge on.